From Dragon 360, this is Digital Banter, a podcast focused on modern marketing tactics and driving real business results. And now, here are your hosts.
What's up, everybody? We're back for another episode of Digital Banter, and we are excited to have a guest on today, Emir, the co-founder of HockeyStack. If you're like me, you probably see HockeyStack literally everywhere these days, putting out video, putting out content. Emir, great to have you on the episode today.
Thank you so much for having me. Super excited. It's going to be really good.
I mean, I'm not lying, though. You guys are literally everywhere these days, between yourself, D, who is your head of revenue, bringing on your advisors and investors. Talk to us a little bit about what that's been like as far as like a team build out, but also just kind of relationship building.
Yeah. So I think it's like 60-70% of our revenue is from LinkedIn Social. And our primary channels are LinkedIn Social, LinkedIn Ads, Google Ads, and then also SEO. So LinkedIn Social is huge for us. And then it's also the first question they ask for the people that I want to hire for, especially revenue-facing teams. My first question is, are you okay to post really frequently on LinkedIn, given we have the resources and the playbooks inside? Fortunately, they all said yes, so they're with us. So what we are doing is, as you said, we are trying to be everywhere with the best content. And then, so we are kind of shifting gears right now. We are building a media company that we will talk about it. So kind of we have Obed. Obed is awesome. So Obed is our head of content, and he's doing more entertaining / education on LinkedIn. I'm doing more product marketing, and then Onion, our Dimension lead, is doing both. And then we are also giving content to our teammates so that they can edit some parts to like fit into their own language and in their own style, and they can post it as well. We are kind of against posting the same stuff over all of our social channels. We are finding ways to do different stuff. And then our goal is essentially, how can we make sure everyone knows what we believe in as a company, as a feature of this industry? How can we make series that will educate / entertain the market? Because I try to like, with influencers, with different people, we sponsored podcasts. If you like send a video of a use case or of a like feature, if they post it, it will get like 10 likes. And then the same person posts something else that's like more genuine, and it gets 300 likes. So we are trying to find out ways that will educate the market, but also entertain them.
Yeah. And I think we want to dive into that, through the course of our conversation today. Mm-hmm. But in our planning meeting with you, I think one thing that I'd love to hear more about is, what was your background before HockeyStack? But more specifically, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said you started HockeyStack when you were 17?
Yeah, so me and my co-founder, Bura, and CEO, we have been building products since 2018. We built lots of things. We tried everything. And then the last one was a social media app. And we were in Istanbul back then. We were nobodies. And that app was going really good. We had around 10,000 people on it. But our biggest problem was retention. And the analytics tools on the market were too complex for us. And then while we were searching for a product analytics tool, we landed on an idea to build a competitor to Google Analytics with our $15 in our bank account, so that it was like a no-code Google Analytics alternative. And then we talked with everyone we can in Turkey. Like, there's some SaaS tools there too, although the market is not that big as it is in the United States. But we talked with them. They said like they were sharing their screens, showing us their analytics stack, etc. We saw the problem there. We built it, launched on AppSumo, crashed the website for 15 minutes, and AppSumo is a lifetime deal platform. And then we got a really good revenue there in like 3 months. And then we were selling to agencies and e-commerce businesses. That didn't work out. We pivoted once, and then to like more into SaaS. And then we started doing user research, and what we found out is there's no way to centralize all your data to understand what drives revenue. And then we developed certain features like HubSpot integration, Salesforce integration, custom dashboards, all that stuff in like 3 4 months. We pivoted, and then this was, I think, like 14 15 months ago. And then from that point on, we got our first customer, and then quickly started scaling. And then we got into YC 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, as the first company in the batch. We got our pre-seed, now YC, and then we are planning on raising another round after YC, which is early September.
Do you consider yourselves competitors to Google Analytics? Because I think it like, because right now,
that was the very first product that we built. Now
Yeah.
we're not even close. Yeah.
well, it's interesting because I think that there's this opportunity in the market right now with the launch of Google Analytics 4 and everybody hating it. And also, I mean, obviously you guys are focused on B2B more than anything. Google Analytics doesn't have the ability to tie things back to revenue in the same way that it can with e-com or anything like that. So it's interesting. I feel like there's a lot of attribution companies right now that are kind of like seeing the opportunity there. I was just curious, like if you like, obviously I think you're creating a category in itself, but just curious like what your opinion was there on like how you position yourselves versus Google Analytics versus focusing more so on your core market.
Yeah, we are in we're in a really weird market, I would say, because we don't have a like really huge competitor. When you say attribution, what are the first like 5 companies that comes to your mind, and how many of them are above, I don't know, $100 million in ARR?
Yeah.
Probably none of them. So I would say, and I say this all the time, our biggest competitors: Google Analytics plus HubSpot plus Salesforce plus spreadsheets. That's the current tech stack of companies, and I think we are doing a great job. But I'm launching a couple of stuff that will accelerate this process to let people know. So I get questions like, "Oh, if we hire someone from, I don't know, like India, and then as a full-time employee, and then allow them to create spreadsheets, use Google Data Studio, and it will be cheaper than getting HockeyStack for a year. Wouldn't that solve our problems?" And the answer is no. So we are trying to make it more like, how can we make it, like, how can we let people know the core use cases and why attribution has been traditionally broken, and then we can expand more on this stuff, so that everyone knows, no, hiring someone from India and then creating spreadsheets and Google Data Studio reports not to like.
Yeah. So this is good. I want to get into your marketing a bit, but a question that I always get with it kind of goes back to what you were just saying there is that like that we get a lot of pushback because like we're a paid media agency. Like honestly, like we want attribution tools in place more than anything because there's nothing worse as an agency than like saying, okay, yeah, we did our jobs with lead gen and like you go about your way and tell us how it did. And like a lot of companies don't want to, it's like they almost like they don't want to bridge that gap. It's a weird thing. And the pushback that we get is that like, oh, like our data is not ready for attribution. Our HubSpot's not clean. Our, all this stuff of like, we're not ready for it. And we're talking like, I mean, quite frankly, like billion-dollar organizations that feel like they're not ready for attribution and still want to use Google Analytics as their single source of truth. So the question I have for you is like, how do you go about encouraging companies that are like that to start getting their feet wet and honestly do the right thing?
Yeah, so this from day one, we believe in customizability. So HockeyStack is a completely customizable platform, which made things really hard for us in the beginning to like develop this kind of like complex product. When you look at the competition, they are relying on templates. So if you have a template that relies on MQL, SQL opportunity, lifecycle stages, then yeah, if you're not using those stages and if you're using something else, then you won't be able to use that product, which is probably 80% of the market right now. But with HockeyStack, if you have like, for example, if you have a customer that's using SAD opportunity, SAD opportunity instead of closed lost. If you're using a template, like a product that's relying on templates, then you won't be able to get that from Salesforce. But with HockeyStack, whatever you have on your Salesforce account, HubSpot account, we can use them because we have a core feature that allows you to customize any report, create your own reports, customize your goals, segments, etc. So that doesn't matter. And we also take customer success really, like, it's super important for us. So when you first become a customer in your first 2 weeks, we like dive deep into your Salesforce and HubSpot data and website data. Like get you on a call and then ask you like what are your core metrics, how does your pipeline funnel look like, etc. So that get everything from you. And then we also have some automated scripts that checks all of your UTM links to understand which ones are duplicates, which ones have errors. And then we also have accuracy checks that checks your Salesforce HubSpot accounts. And then we also have a couple people on our team that checks out your Salesforce account to see if your salespeople is doing a good job at updating your life cycle stages and other stuff that they should be updating. So we're doing everything on our end. If the company does their thing too during this process, during the first couple of weeks, then we don't really see a problem. We don't face any problems there.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the problem comes in there of getting the company to do their thing. I mean, cleaning up UTMs is one thing. Having the sales team update Salesforce in a structured, meaningful way is another thing. Especially like it's almost like and I feel like with the companies that we've worked with, there's a certain size where you've almost like I don't want to say outgrown the ability to have like a structured process in place where you get a series A, B, even C company, like usually that stuff is pretty in place, but once they go public, it seems that that stuff almost like goes out the window, and that's like been a tough transition for us.
But that's a bigger problem than attribution, because then if your salespeople are not updating your Salesforce, then you cannot have accurate pipeline reviews as well. You cannot have accurate forecasting. You don't have anything. So that's a bigger problem than attribution.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, process is the biggest thing there. Process and then accountability.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about HockeyStack's marketing. So I think, what was it? I think it was on your own podcast. Maybe you were a guest, but you talked a little bit about your SEO. So, and how it has been a raging success very quickly. Talk to us a little bit about your SEO strategy, because I'm interested to hear about it.
Yeah. So our SEO strategy was super simple. We basically we started with bottom funnel keywords and mid funnel keywords. And then when I say bottom funnel, it's basically competitor related keywords, very specific use case keywords, etc. And then mid funnel is more like connecting our features with what market needs, like content marketing attribution reports, stuff like that. That's like speaking to HockeyStack plus what people search about. And then with this, like our strategy was to publish at a really high velocity. Think of 40 to 50 pages a month for 3 months. And then optimizing those pages after that, and then reducing it to 20, 25 pages per month for 3 more months. And then we had an editor and a team of freelancer writers. So we had really good briefs, and we also have an SEO playbook if anyone want to check it out. We have example briefs there, outlines, etc. So with those outlines, we spent a lot of time on outlines. With those outlines, we were able to get like super expert people in attribution to write really good articles, and then have an editor that edits it so that we make sure that it's good to go. And then after some time, we were optimizing those pages. Right now, we don't publish anymore, but we are still optimizing our pages. And then one thing there was, as I said, our industry is not really, we don't have a really big competitor. And then when you say attribution, every single marketer understands a different thing. So when we first started doing it, we like reached, in 6-7 months, we reached 1 million impressions per month. And then we were getting 8-9K clicks per month. And when we were measuring its success, we were mainly looking at, we had a free trial back then. We were mainly looking at the free trial signups, and like close one value. and it seemed like it was failing. But then when I checked out our conversions, I saw that on HockeyStack, like 80, maybe like 90% of people check out our live demo before contacting sales or like signing up for a free trial. Then I started to measure SEO success based on the people that views the blog post and then checks out our live demo. And that made a huge difference because then we have a focus to get people from our blog posts to live demo. And then from live demo, it's our money page. And then we can retarget people. And then we can also reach out to people because it's gated. So we focus on that. And then right now, in everything that we do, our biggest goal is to get people to live demo because we are 100% sure that if they check out our live demo, they're going to book contact sales. And if not, we're going to retarget them. If that doesn't work, we're going to reach out. So, yeah, that was our whole strategy. And yeah, that was basically it.
So
hang on, with that amount of volume,
Mhm.
how were you measuring quality of traffic? Because I can imagine that it was just a ton of unqualified traffic potentially coming through, given that sheer, hockey stick of volume coming to the site. So how are you optimizing towards quality? Because I think that's something that, we all struggle with in B2B, but especially when you get into more of the SaaS products, really focusing on that quality over quantity can become a struggle.
Yeah. So mainly we were focusing on, as I said, bottom funnel and mid funnel keywords. So that made sure everyone was relevant. And then even though we were seeing zero potential traffic, we were still writing those articles and we saw huge success in that. If I know that people will search for a keyword, but the href says zero potential traffic, then we were still writing it. And if you think about it, the articles that we were writing were like content marketing attribution, how to use funnels, stuff like that. So they were really qualified. And then one other thing that I was doing is I created a retargeting layer on LinkedIn ads. And with the LinkedIn ads, you can see the like people in that audience, like their roles, their company size, etc. So I was also checking that out. And then over time, if I see a decrease in like quality, I was checking out the articles that we recently wrote and then updating them or deleting them from the site.
can you let this tidbit out? What was the most common job title you saw across your blog?
Yeah, it was mostly head of growth, head of marketing, head of paid, those kind of titles.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you guys use like Clearbit or any tools like that? Isn't that part of your tool now too?
Yeah. So we are using Clearbit, and that works really well too. And we are an official 6 Sense partner. We will announce this really soon. So with Clearbit, yeah, you're right. So we had some audiences created on Clearbit, and then Clearbit was identifying companies that are visiting. For example, if you write an article, Google Analytics versus Mixpanel, for example, we were checking out what are the companies that are checking out these competitors, and then creating sequences for those companies, like email sequences and LinkedIn DMs. And then the other thing was on Google Search Console, still to this day, I can see the trends. So how many people are checking out this competitors versus this competitors, and how does that change over time? Plus, as we are ranking for a variety of keywords, I can see trending keywords before anyone else. For example, a couple months ago, I saw that dimension attribution has been getting traffic, which was a zero traffic keyword before. So at that point, we kind of switched our strategy because, like, until that point, people were still trying to understand if dimension is the way to go rather than lead gen, but no one was trying to focus on how can we measure our podcast, our LinkedIn. And then from that point on, it was like 2 or 3 months ago, I saw that. I talked with my co-founders and a couple advisors, and we kind of started to vent into this like, okay, dimension is the way, lead gen doesn't work, ebooks doesn't work, white papers doesn't work, but how can we measure it? And then we started to develop features and then also change our narrative. So examples, podcast attribution, LinkedIn ads impressions and engagement, LinkedIn ads campaign impression, and then I'm doing something for our social to understand how LinkedIn social brings revenue, and I can launch that as a report example. And then we also changed our narrative based on it as well.
So this is a good. No, this is a great transition. Obviously, I love talking about SEO, but I mean, what you guys are doing now with the building of the media company and Flow. I mean, that's I don't want to say demand gen 101 because I think what you guys are doing is like a lot cooler than that. But you know, from my end, I have a little bit of envy with how creative you guys are being, and from our side, I think with our clients, like we struggle to get them to be that creative just because of it's not, they're more coming from like a product marketing background focusing on the product, where you guys have a mix of influencers, entertaining content, entertaining education. So tell us a bit about what you're doing there, and then I really want you to get into kind of what your measurement strategy is on that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we are doing basically, think of Netflix, but for B2B, exact same thing. And then there a couple we have series that will feature our team members. But one thing that we're doing, for example, if you think of any media company example, there are not many, but they're mainly focusing on their own team members, the people that they have. But when we thought about this with Obed, we thought that we don't need strictly influencers. We need great people that are creating content, even if they don't have an audience. We have an audience, so if they create great content, we promote it on our end, we put it on the flow, and then people will see it. The only thing that matters is great content, and then we write the scripts so we can tie it into our product, our narrative. Not everything should be tied back to the product, but if you want to, we can do it. So with the flow, we are creating different series. The worst marketer in the world is one. Aaron is going to create a world's first salesman series. We have other people, the people that you know. Plus, we have Obed and me on the flow. So Obed is creating a therapy commercial, for example. It's going to be a series. He's basically a B2B marketing therapist, doing therapy to other marketers. We have the mind-blowing thoughts of a marketer series. There's another one coming out from Obed. We have Can You Dashboard It? We are getting submissions from people, and I'm creating a dashboard, and Courtney, our customer success manager, is creating a dashboard in 90 seconds. Stuff like that. So our goal is to create a place where you can basically binge watch anything that you want. So it's like, for example, we have been launching lots of stuff on LinkedIn, but if you want to go back and then see what we did 3 months ago, there's not a place that you can do. You will basically go to my page, scroll, and trying to find it. But with the central place, we will have a single place to host everything, plus have more creativity, because we don't have a promotion problem. We just need to find great people that can create content with us. And then on LinkedIn, we are trying to mix our narrative, our product, plus entertainment. That's our primary goal. And a question that I guess really often is the advisors that we have an influencer play. Answer is no. We have I think 4 or 5 advisors, and I meet with them every single day. We text every day. No, not every day, but we text every day. We meet every week. So it's not an influencer play. I know some of them, for example, Corporate Pro is basically an influencer. And we get some of that value as well. But the core value that I'm focusing on is, for example, Corporate Pro Ross is awesome at scripts, and we share all of our scripts with him, and he gives us feedback. Or he's like, oh, this therapy commercial is good, but maybe we can do something like this. I had this series that I launched a couple years ago. Maybe you can take a look at this. I did this, it didn't work. You can do the series in this way, stuff like that. Marco Segolo, he basically scaled Outreach from 0 to, I don't know, $15-20 million in ARR. and he's like, we meet every 2 weeks. He's letting me know this is gonna happen at this point. You should avoid this. Or I'm like, hey Mark, I'm looking to hire this person. Can you look at his LinkedIn profile and let me know what you think? Or can you meet with him? Stuff like that. And then with John Berg, he's global paid at Cognism. He's looking at our ad accounts. He gives us feedback on our performance marketing side of the product. We get lots of great feature ideas from him, and he's also a user. Cognism uses HockeyStack, so he's in the product every day. So he gives us really good feedback, and he's my friend. And then Jared helps me a lot with sales, community, and everything in between, and then hiring as well. So it's not only an influencer play. If you see 15 different advisor positions on a person's profile, then it's basically an influencer play. But like my goal is to get people to really have skin in the game and work with us in the long term. Because if you think of advisors, most companies compensate advisors with stock, and then after 2 years or whatever the vesting period is, after 2 years, they don't need to work with you anymore because they have that stock. So it's super important to choose people that will work with you for a very long time, and then people you trust.
So interesting. I guess a question for you, because I mean, obviously the entertainment factor is paying off. How are you balancing that between like that and product marketing? Like when it comes to attribution and how you're allocating budget and resources.
Yeah. So we have a budget for like series and this whole media company. So basically, Obed can do whatever he wants with that budget. Sometimes he's using it to like hire people, sometimes for video, sometimes for the worst market in the world, we are working with a professional voice artist. He is the worst market in the world part comes from a really professional artist, so he can spend money on that. And he has his own budget. And then on the product marketing side, I'm doing all of the product marketing, so I focus on that. I work with sales, customer success, and marketing to bridge the gap and then understand what people want. And then OEN helps both of us with content. So I think having people own these areas makes a really good difference, because they're like really different areas, and then that focus switch between product marketing to entertainment to something else, to demand gen, etc., would not work for us. So that's how we focus. And then one core thing that we didn't talk about earlier is how we track the influence of LinkedIn social. So as I said, and we have LinkedIn impressions and engagement on HockeyStack, and we were the first ones to launch this 10 months ago. So we had a really long period in which we work on this feature by the time our competitors launched it last month. So in this period, we worked on getting LinkedIn impressions and engagement every single day, rather than getting it monthly or quarterly like others do. So right now, I am doing this weekly. I'm getting all the people that have contacted sales that week, creating a report that shows how many of them have seen a LinkedIn ads before versus not, compares it with self-reported sources and actual sources. So if someone says, I came from LinkedIn on self-reported source, I check out if they have seen a LinkedIn ad before. If not, it's social. And if the source is LinkedIn as well, and then if they have not seen a LinkedIn ad before, then it's social. Versus if it's LinkedIn ads, then I basically say, like, if you spend $1,000, if you have 4 deals that have influenced by LinkedIn ads, then it's like, yeah, it's worth it.
So, question for you. So, I literally just posted something about this yesterday about exactly what we were talking about: ad exposure, holdouts, things like that. What, if you don't mind me asking, like, what is the incremental lift that you are seeing when your audience is exposed to ads versus not?
Yeah, so let me give you the exact numbers. So I don't know the exact time period. Maybe it's like in 2-3 days. This was, I think, 3 weeks ago. I was creating a report to understand like we have been getting lots of requests in like 2-3 days. I was like looking at numbers to understand what's going on, like why are we getting so much like deals. And then there was a period I think we were just getting started with this influencer play. And then it was like 26 demos in 3 days. And then 7 have seen a link to that before. And that's the kind of the number that we see. That's the like percentage that we see often. And from on LinkedIn ads, we are more doing like we are mostly targeting bigger companies that we might not able to get on social, and then we are also using it for retargeting more. And then yeah, we are also using it like, for example, if you see companies running social ads, social proof ads, you see them running like G2 ads, testimonials, case studies, etc. We are trying to do more. So we show people that Mark joined us as an advisor. We launched this feature, stuff like that, because we are not a cheap product. And if people invest that much into a product for a year, A, they want to see what this company is doing. B, they want to get product development in that year. A year is too long. So I want to show people that, yes, this person that you trust us too, so you can trust us. And then the other thing is we are launching features. So in that year, you will see lots of features coming out. So we are using it more for building trust rather than selling.
When we start to talk about measuring social and then dovetailing that into the dark social realm of marketing, let's use that as a conversational transition point to start talking about how do you measure the impact of a podcast or of dark social when there's a group out there that say you can measure it. There's another group that says no, you can't, but it exists and don't ignore it. How do you go about measuring it in the way in which HockeyStack has found?
Yeah, so for a very long time, I thought that as well. Like podcasts, there's no way to attribute that to revenue, etc. And the main thing that was limiting my belief was you cannot get podcasts onto account-based journeys because you don't know on which date they listen to the podcast. But when I thought about it, and when I talked with people outside of our company that are doing really good podcasts, and the main thing that they said to me was they're talking with sales to understand how many people set podcasts on sales calls. And then I thought that when you listen to the podcast doesn't really matter. This is the first thing. And secondly, you don't just listen to a podcast. For example, most people, this happens sometimes, but like often it doesn't happen. So they will hear me talking about HockeyStack. They're not going to contact sales immediately, but they will know about HockeyStack after this podcast episode, and that's what matters. And then basically, podcasts are really maybe the best way to build trust. So they will remember when they contact sales, they will put in the self-report attribution form. So basically, with an integration with Gong, we are now able to get how many people say that they listen to podcasts, and then we are able to compare that with the actual customer journey. So you can see how many people said they listened to podcasts before, and then compare it with their like actual digital touch points. And dark social, I think, is dark because people think they cannot do anything about it, but there are lots of ways to do. And then my belief is if we can get people to understand that yes, it's doable, then more people will do it. And in turn, we will see better marketing. And in turn, we will see more revenue coming out to companies. So if we let everyone know, yes, LinkedIn social is trackable, then more people will do LinkedIn social, and your feed will be less Twitter screenshots and more like better marketing on your feed. And then same with community, same with podcasts, same with everything else. And then they will have one solution to track all of them. So that's the end goal.
So what can't be measured then, in your opinion?
Yeah. So we can get like which companies are engaging with LinkedIn ads, but we cannot get which companies engage with LinkedIn social. So we can, for example, right now before contacting sales, that's like before contacting sales. So right now we can create sequences based on companies that have a high engagement on LinkedIn ads or like connect with them. We cannot do that for LinkedIn social, but we might be able to do it. So yeah, working on some stuff. Other than that, I don't know. What do you think?
Threw you a curveball there.
Well, I get the podcast to an extent. Like the integration with Gong is like all of these are like one step closer. But I mean, it's not, like the reason we have a podcast is not because we get a million listeners to the podcast. We make this podcast so that we can cut it up into segments and split it out on social, and that's where
Exactly.
probably the majority of our impressions actually come from. And I think that so like people in order of priority, I think people care more about organic social and the lack of measurement in organic social, especially now with, I mean, you're in the startup scene more than anything. Like the personal brand stuff is taken over. You know, the impressions from like a company page and like company page like social. That's almost, I don't want to say it's dead, but like it's not the personal brand stuff. I think is really taking over, and it'd be interested to see the impact and measurement of that in the future.
Yeah, but I think to the same extent, like us three get that. We understand the play of a podcast as a content creation process, but there's so many others that exist out there. I mean, you were talking about our clients and trying to convince them and tell them, you know, you got to be doing this. And they always want to come back to, okay, well, how are we going to measure the ROI of a podcast? Like it's, you can to an extent, but there's like the halo effect, and it's got to be just a process kind of initiator. And that, I think that's the real challenge there of convincing and showing somebody that it's not all about the true revenue generation of one effort. It's creating the process that feeds the beast that exists out there.
Exactly. But I'm optimistic, so I think more people get it than not. More people start to get it. And that's like some parts of it are messages on LinkedIn certain from coming out from certain companies that you can only do self attribution if you are using a software that will only show direct traffic, stuff like that. And they are changing their narratives as well. I see that. So I think more and more people will get it. And one part of my core strategy, as I said, my 60% of my day goes to product marketing. I'm basically religiously listening to Gong calls, getting transcriptions, trying to understand what exactly they want from us, what are they struggling with, and then turning that into content series. That's like 60% of my day, 6 days a week. So I think one core thing everyone is trying to understand is yes, I have to show ROI to my boss, and CMO needs to show ROI to CEO. But then there are also like tests they need to do. They're also like, for example, one big thing that I see from companies is if they want to understand if an ad campaign works, they turn it off for a couple of weeks to understand if it works or not. If there's a decrease or increase, it's like insane. So one person is trying to show the ROI and doing tests. The other person is trying to show the ROI to someone else. There's like this loop, and I'm trying to figure out what else can we do for this person to get more budget to test more stuff, and then find out the ones that work, and then show a greater ROI so that the CMO can go to CEO and show like, yes, we did this, we spent this much, and this is all right. So that process is my whole job, and I think we are making great progress. And then my goal is to create a blueprint using all of the data that we have to show this is how we do LinkedIn ads, this is how we optimize LinkedIn ads, this is how we do Google ads, this is how we optimize Google ads, and this is the trends that we see across the industry. This is the benchmarks. And then turn this into maybe a consultation product, whatever that is. And then it's also one core thing about our product, which might be unique, is our whole ROI depends on the marketer's ability to interpret the data. So we're also making sure it's easy enough. And yeah.
I think that
one more thing, but I forgot. Yeah.
the interpretation piece is key, because the problem that everybody has with attribution is that it's like assigning credit, right? Because everybody wants credit in a siloed whatever. And it's like flipping that narrative from assigning credit to telling a story. Like in one of our other podcasts, we talked to another attribution company. They're more on the e-commerce side, but what they talked about was like how attribution needs to be part of it from the beginning instead of like after the fact, which is something that we deal with as an agency all the time, right? Like we'll put it in there and they're like, oh yeah, no, I don't want that 20K line item. Like we just want all of our money to go to media. That's like what they want, versus, okay, we want this in from the beginning so we can tell you the story and outline the customer journeys and show how these programs are working together, rather than, you looking at, think about it, like if you're looking at like content creation, ad spend, like all of this stuff as like individual items, and you're almost just like, you're already starting with like, what are we going to cut, rather than how are these things going to compound each other and work together to achieve the goal. And that's where I think the narrative just needs to change away from like paid search drove this, paid LinkedIn drove this, LinkedIn organic drove this, because it's not one thing in most cases.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And yeah, with Obed, we created like the first 5 weeks of Obed's work was creating a realm of relevancy. This is a term that Obed and Todd is using. So basically, we created 3 POVs that we believe in, and then a strategic narrative, and then under each POV we have sparks that we can talk about. So the narrative that we are now using and we will be talking more about is attribution 2.0, which is attribution is not about giving the whole conversion credit into a single touch point, which is usually the last one, or giving it to a team. It's more about understanding customer journey and what can we get from this in data to improve our marketing. So this will allow companies to understand what's working, what's not, improve their marketing, and spend more on great marketing, memorable experiences. So with this like attribution 2.0, if you go to our website, it's our main title. What we mean is not only about the product, but an industry wide change in the way we understand attribution. So if your sales team has a demo and then close that deal and $1 million deal, you don't just give credit, like $1 million credit into your sales team, because that company has been seeing your ads for a very long time. They have been seeing your LinkedIn social ads, LinkedIn social posts, LinkedIn ads, Google ads, everything. Then it doesn't matter who gets the credit. Like we are all grown-ups. We don't need credit. We just need to get more revenue and understand how people buy from us. And then the other side of the story is, yes, B2B customer journey is complex, but how can we get a better control of this journey? How can we lead people from one point all the way to conversions? What is our money page? Ours is live demo. It's yours. I bet that no one knows this. What's their money page? No one probably know that. Or if we don't have a money page, how can we create one so that we can lead people from the beginning all the way to that money page, and then create some strategies like retargeting, LinkedIn DMs, emails, calls, events, everything.
Money page. Andy, we need a money page that's not a contact form.
We have a money page. It's my Calendly.
That works too.
Yeah.
The narrative that I want to move towards for us too is like changing the B2B buying experience. Like we've been talking a little bit about focusing more on like B2B e-com and kind of how, this is kind of the standard thing everybody talks about, the B2B buying process being broken, the fact that you have to talk to SDR to get qualified before you talk to an AE and all this stuff. Meanwhile, like if you just educate somebody with all of the right information, there's no reason why they can't buy your product online. I mean, there's onboarding and stuff like that, but I mean, your live demo is pretty good example of it. Like you can go in there, you can click around, like you could see the product. I don't even have to fill out a form, right?
Yeah. So one agency, Client Boost, huge agency that's also
Yep.
using HockeyStack. Drew, they're an amazing marketer. He came up with this landing page. I don't think it's their money page. I sent it in the chat if you want to check it out. I don't think this is their money page because they don't promote it well enough. But if they if they promote it in a better way, I think this would work for an agency because this is like marketing fast and slow. Basically talks about what they believe as an agency, how they do marketing, all that stuff. So if you have a different opinion than other agencies, and agencies is, if I were an agency, that would be really fun because most agencies suck. So there's a really big opportunity to get the lead.
Yeah.
See, I don't even have to say other agencies suck. Our guests just say it for us, so it's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a big.
I've lost a lot of money with agencies, so I know.
We've seen a lot of money lost on behalf of our clients with other agencies. So
Well, it's fun. Like that's the standard agency. I don't know. Well, how do we get work? We audit somebody else's account, point out what's wrong with it. Like that's kind of the standard thing.
Yeah.
So with HockeyStack, I want to kind of start to bring our episode, I think, to a close here because I think we talked about a lot. But with HockeyStack, so what does a potential client of yours need in place to really be ready to take advantage of HockeyStack and all that it offers?
Yeah, so we're mainly targeting 100 to 1,500 people, B2B software companies in the United States, mostly. So with a 100 people company, they probably have a marketing team of 4 to 5 people at least. So that's a good start because then there's at least someone that can check out your dashboards and then get insights. That's the first thing. Other thing is SCRM. So I see companies that are still using Airtable as a CRM. It doesn't work. You need Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, whatever it is. We have integration with all of them. And then updating your CRM is huge, really good. A really good start. And then if you have more than one ad platform plus some organic stuff like, I don't know, blog posts, white papers, whatever you're doing, then you would get a lot of value from HockeyStack. If your revenue doesn't come from one source, like we have companies in very niche industries, for example, mental health, like healthcare in general, their whole marketing team is basically doing events. Then HockeyStack is gonna fit because you're only getting like revenue from one source, so there's nothing to improve there. But if you have a couple of sources of revenue, if you have a marketing team of 4 or 5 people at least, and then if you can update your CRM regularly so that we get accurate data, then that's it. And we have all the resources to help you with that, with other stuff.
I was going to say, like, on top of just the platform itself, you guys, what levels of support and service and kind of consulting do you add on top of that? Because I think that's the other, at least in my experience, that's always been the other barrier of like, oh, well, our data's not in the right place. And then conversely, like we have nobody internally that owns us today. So what are we going to do to make this successful? Right.
Yeah. On day one, we create a Slack channel. I'm there, my co-founders are there, our customer success manager is there. So you have that. We have a kickoff call where we get your feedback. We create your launch dashboards, 4 different dashboards based on your needs, your Salesforce account, your website, everything, and you can customize them further if you want. We have a session where we talk to you about like how to create reports, how to do X, how to create your goals, etc. And then this is ready. The videos are in edit, and then blog posts are in edit. But we are launching a HockeyStack Academy, which will be divided into 3 sections: marketing 101, marketing 201, marketing 301. 101 is about how our script works, how HockeyStack works, what are the customer success programs available for customers, stuff like that. 201 is use cases, how you can optimize your ads, content, etc. using HockeyStack, how to analyze LinkedIn social influence, etc. And marketing 301 is I'm doing that, and then Obed is doing that. So Obed is talking about this realm of relevancy, how to use LinkedIn social as a company. He has a 70-page long LinkedIn social guide. So we are turning that into a Notion playbook, like the ones that are like LinkedIn ads and SEO playbook. We are turning that into that. And he's also talking about how you divide audiences into top-down, middle-out, and bottom-up audiences to reach everyone in the company. And then we also have a changelog series coming out with Flow and HockeyStack Academy. So our CTO, my co-founder, is going to talk about recent features that we launched in the last 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, it's going to be another episode. So this is going to be launching in, I think, 10 days. That's going to be huge. We have documentation. We have playbooks. They're like, how can you analyze your ads? How can you analyze your LinkedIn ads? Stuff like that. Yeah, and then anytime if you need help, you can just text a Slack message, and Courtney would be available to help you with that.
So when's the certification coming?
I hate that. So if we ever have a certification, then we didn't do a good job at making this product easy to use, because people are getting certified to use HockeyStack, and then at that point we will be probably a, I don't know, HubSpot with the terrible UX, terrible UI, but you must use it because then you don't have an actual company. So
I love that perspective.
So if we ever see a certification for HockeyStack, we know that we are messaging you with the question, what went wrong?
Yeah, you know that I'm not here anymore, and I'm in probably Bali on vacation. So
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, Emir, thank you so much for hopping on today's episode. How can people learn more about HockeyStack, but also connect with you?
Yeah, you can search my name on LinkedIn, Emir, and then hockeystack.com. Yeah, and my email, emir@hockeystack.com, if you want to send an email.
Awesome.
And then we are, one last thing, we are hiring across all functions. If you think you're a good fit, send me an email with why you're a good fit, and then we can go from there.
It's awesome.
Sweet.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Emir. So as usual, my closing is like, subscribe, connect with James and I, connect with Emir, learn more about HockeyStack, and learn more about Dragon 360 at dragon360.com. Catch you all next time.
Thanks for listening to Digital Banter. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.